Let me ask you something strange. If I told you that saving your first $100,000 is actually the hardest money you will ever save in your entire life, would you believe me? Not because it requires the most discipline, not because life is the most expensive at that stage, but because of something quietly happening inside your brain every single time you try to save money. Most people spend years grinding, cutting expenses, working extra hours, and still feel like they're getting nowhere. And then one day, something shifts. The money starts moving faster, the account grows without feeling like a war, and they look back and realize the first $100,000 was the only one that actually hurt. Today, we're going to break down exactly why that is, and more importantly, how to get there faster than you think is possible right now. Here's the story most of us live through. You get your first real job. Maybe you're making $35,000 a year, maybe $50,000, maybe more. You tell yourself, this is it. This is when things change. You're going to save seriously this time. So you set up a savings account. You transfer $200 at the start of the month. You feel good about it. And then rent comes, and your phone bill, and your friend's birthday dinner you forgot about. And suddenly that $200 quietly disappears, and you promise yourself you'll do better next month. Sound familiar? The problem isn't that you're bad with money. The problem is that almost everything about the way we think about saving is working against us from the very beginning. Most people treat savings like whatever is left over after they spend, but that's like trying to get fit by exercising only when you feel like it. It almost never works. And then there's the second trap, the comparison trap. You look at someone talking about investing $500 a month, and you think, that's not even possible for me right now. So you do nothing. You wait for the magical moment when you'll have enough money to start. And that moment, for most people, never comes. Here's the truth nobody tells you clearly enough. The first $100,000 isn't just a savings milestone. It is the foundation that changes how money works for you forever. And the way you get there has almost nothing to do with how much you earn. Let's talk about what actually makes the first $100,000 so hard and why every dollar after it gets easier. There's a concept in finance called the snowball effect. You've probably heard it before, but most people hear it and think, okay, that makes sense. Money grows over time. They understand it. They don't feel it. And that's the problem. Here's a simple example. Imagine you're rolling a tiny snowball down a hill. At the beginning, the hill is flat. You're pushing. It's heavy. It takes effort just to keep it moving. And the snowball stays small because there's not enough snow sticking to it yet. But then the hill starts to slope, and the snowball picks up speed, and suddenly, instead of pushing, you're just guiding. The thing is moving on its own. That slope in the money world is called compound growth, and the painful flat part at the beginning, that's the first $100,000. Let's put real numbers to this. Say you start investing $500 a month at a 10% average annual return, which is roughly what broad stock market index funds have historically returned over long periods. In the first year, you've put in $6,000. Your investment returns may be $300 to $600 on top of that. Not exciting. By year 3, you're at around $20,000. Still feels slow. By year 5, you're somewhere around $38,000. Still not there. But here's where it starts to feel different. By year 7, you cross $57,000. And by year 8.5, you hit $100,000. Now here's the wild part. After you cross that $100,000 threshold, something mathematical changes. With $100,000 working for you at 10%, the market alone is adding roughly $10,000 a year to your account without you doing anything extra. That's almost as much as 2 months of your own contributions just appearing automatically. By year 15, you're at around $200,000, but it only took you about 6 more years to double from $100,000 to $200,000 compared to the 8.5 years it took to get to $100,000 in the first place. That's the snowball, and everything before $100,000 is you standing at the top of the hill trying to get it moving. Now here's the psychological piece nobody talks about, and this is where it gets really interesting. There's a concept in psychology called present bias. It basically means our brains are wired to care about right now much more than the future. When you think about having $100,000 in 10 years, your brain doesn't feel it. It's abstract, it's distant. But when you think about spending $50 tonight on a nice dinner with friends, your brain absolutely feels that, vividly, immediately. This is not a character flaw. This is literally how human brains evolved. We were not built to think in decades. We were built to survive the next season. But here's where it gets worse. Every time you don't save, your brain actually rewards you. You get the dinner, the experience, the dopamine hit. You feel good. And your brain quietly learns spending feels good. Saving doesn't feel like anything at all. This is why willpower-based saving almost never works long-term. You're fighting your own urology with sheer force every single month, and eventually life gets in the way and you lose. The people who build wealth fastest aren't people with stronger willpower. They're people who figured out how to make saving automatic, so the brain never gets a vote. This is the secret behind a principle called pay yourself first. The idea is simple. Before you pay rent, before you buy groceries, before you do anything, you move a set amount of money into savings or investments. You treat it like a bill you cannot avoid, not as what's left over, but as the first expense that gets paid every single month. When your savings move automatically on payday, your brain never experiences losing money. It only ever sees what's left in your checking account and spends from that. You've essentially tricked your own psychology into building wealth. There's another mental trap worth naming here. It's called lifestyle inflation, and it silently kills more wealth-building journeys than almost anything else. Here's how it works. You get a raise, great. But instead of saving the extra money, you upgrade your apartment, get a nicer car, start eating out more often. Your expenses expand to match your income, and you're working harder, earning more, but saving exactly the same as before, or sometimes even less. The people who hit $100,000 the fastest are the ones who resist this trap the longest. Not forever, just long enough to let the snowball start rolling. So what does this actually look like in practice? Step 1. Automate your savings before you ever see the money. Set up an automatic transfer on the same day your paycheck arrives, even if it's $100 a month, even if it's $50. The habit and the system matter more than the amount right now. Step 2. Open an investment account, not just a savings account. Money sitting in a regular savings account earning 0.5% interest is not a snowball. It's barely keeping up with inflation. A broad index fund, something that tracks the overall market, is one of the simplest and most effective tools for long-term wealth building that exists. You don't need to be an expert, you just need to start. Step 3. Every time your income goes up, increase your savings rate before upgrading your lifestyle. Get a raise? Bump your automatic investment by at least half of that raise. You'll still feel the increase, but you'll also be feeding the snowball. Step 4. Find your number. Look at your spending and figure out where the money actually goes. Most people are genuinely surprised. There are almost always 1 or 2 areas where spending is high, but the enjoyment is low. Small leaks that drain hundreds of dollars a month without adding much to life. Redirect that money toward the goal. And step 5, stop waiting for the perfect amount to start. The biggest mistake people make is thinking they need to be in a better financial position before they begin investing. But every month you wait is a month of compounding you lose forever. Time is the one ingredient you can never buy back. Here's the thought I want to leave you with. The first $100,000 is not about the money. Not really. It's about proving to yourself that the system works. It's about building the identity of someone who invests consistently, who pays themselves first, who doesn't let lifestyle creep steal the future. Because once you cross that threshold, something changes inside you too. You stop seeing money as something that slips through your fingers, and you start seeing it as something that works for you while you sleep. The math changes, your relationship with money changes, and the next $100,000 comes faster, and the one after that faster still. Most people never start because they're waiting to feel ready, but readiness doesn't come before the action. It comes from the action. The best time to start was yesterday. The second best time is today. Start the snowball, even if it's small, even if the hill feels flat right now, because the slope is coming, and the only way to reach it is to keep rolling.